I got that Wall Street job I wanted," one of my best students announced. "Wonderful," I replied, "as I will be consulting for a Wall Street firm next year. We should have lunch together at least once a week definitely," he stated enthusiastically. The student and I never met for lunch, though we continued to maintain a close professional relationship via email and telephone. No, we were not too busy to eat or to meet. As it turns out, we both conflated a concept with a physical place. Admittedly, I was closer, consulting for a company in Hanover Square, near Delmonico's, just a few blocks south of Wall Street. My erstwhile student, though, worked for a financial services company in a business park off route, in the wilds of New Jersey, a good hour away by train. Our mistakes were honest ones. Wall Street is a physical place, about a quarter-mile-long thoroughfare, that runs uphill from the East River to Manhattan's Trinity Church. But, of course, for most people the phrase Wall Street connotes much more. In the same way that Washington has become synonymous with the federal government, Wall Street symbolizes not just New York City's financial district, but the entire nation's financial system. It doesn't matter that most financial firms are, in fact, not located on Wall Street, or even in downtown New York, or that some of our most important financial exchanges are found in Chicago. Both those who admire and revile the financial system find Wall Street a convenient, if often technically incorrect, shorthand. Financial systems often find themselves inexorably linked to physical places, like Boston's Boylston Street, London's Lombard Street, Paris's Rue Quincampoix, or Bangkok's Asoke Street. Many people, it appears, have difficulty comprehending markets, wall-less institutions, where the abstract forces of supply and demand interact to determine prices and quantities traded. So they personalize those forces, conflating the abstract market with the many marketplaces where supply and demand play out in day-to-day life. This propensity is particularly pronounced when it comes to the financial system, a series of interrelated markets for various types of promises to pay. For the uninitiated, eyes and their markets are bewildering, to say the least. It is little wonder, then, that people make the complexity more manageable by equating the financial system with something tangible and easily identifiable, like a city street. People do not identify the financial system with any old random street. They choose the thoroughfare that appears to contain the largest density of important financial firms, businesses employed in some aspect of the IU trade. Financial companies, after all, tend to cluster geographically. Close proximity lowers transaction costs between firms, serves as a customer and employee magnet, and creates other side benefits. Of course, there are limits to those benefits, and too much clustering leads to adverse consequences, like high rents and easy corporate espionage, so financial firms are usually found peppered around districts rather than densely congregated on individual city blocks. Although clustering is always incomplete, an area relatively densely populated with financial firms, the metaphorical if not the physical center of the financial district, almost invariably arises. Why a particular street within a given financial district takes a leadership role is a difficult question. Chance and history probably play the largest roles. Once established, the positive external benefits that the street or district creates become the justification of its continued existence. Financial districts tend to enjoy lives so long that to successive generations they look like permanent features of the financial landscape. But like everything else in life, they are transitory. This book is the story of a financial district eventually shorn of its luster, dethroned from its financial kingship, if you will. Many people, including some eminent historians, assume that Wall Street has always been the focal point of the U.S. financial system. But we all know what happens when we assume, or rather when we assume. As it turns out, America's first Wall Street, to wit, its first leading financial district, was in Philadelphia, not Manhattan. Centered on Chestnut Street, Philadelphia's financial district ruled the nation's financial system until 1836. Chestnut Street was one of early Philadelphia's tree streets, straight, broad thoroughfares, like walnut, pine, and spruce, that ran westward from the Delaware to the Schuylkill River. 1 block south of High Street, the city's central east-west avenue, Chestnut Street, by 1794 lay in the center of the most densely populated, highest-rent section of the city. It was also home to the State House, the library, the War Office, the President's Mansion, and the new Playhouse, as well as the Bank of the United States, the Bank of North America, and the Bank of Pennsylvania, 3 important early commercial banks. Chestnut Street was, in short, the place to be, at least until Andrew Jackson came to power in 1829. Chestnut Street's rise and fall forms the narrative core of this book. But in the broadest terms, the first Wall Street is about economic growth, increased real per capita aggregate output. In simpler terms, it is about wealth creation, and the reasons why a few nations produce much more wealth per person than most other countries manage to do. A brief overview of the major components of the financial system and their importance to U.S. economic growth is therefore in order. Between 1770 and 1900, the English-speaking settlements along the east coast of North America transformed themselves from a series of agricultural colonies into the most powerful industrial nation in the world. How did the American colonies do so, where so many other former colonies have stumbled? The answer is at the same time both simple and complex: competitive financial markets and institutions. But what does that phrase mean? And how does finance lead to growth? Early Americans could not simply extract precious metals or liquids from the ground and live off the proceeds. They had to work hard felling timber, plowing fields, and bringing their wares to market. But hard work alone was not the key to wealth creation. Early Americans had to work smart to discover ways of working more efficiently. They struggled to get another bushel of wheat out of each acre, another hogshead of tobacco out of each field, another bale of cotton out of each plantation, another ton of iron out of each furnace blast. Such is the nature of human beings, to strive to get more output from a given amount of input. All peoples want to be productive so that they can enjoy more wealth and more leisure. Not all people, however, have access to institutions that make increased levels of productivity possible. The mere desire to be more efficient is insufficient to drive productivity too.